Hello and welcome once again to my kuti, my little Buddha Vihara in Sri Lanka, surrounded by beautiful woodland, trees, forests, jungle, countryside on the western coastline here. I'm very fortunate to be in this wonderful place, and also very grateful that I'm very well supported here by the local people by way of accommodation, food, robes and medicine, which are the basic four requisites of any practicing Buddhist monk living whether in a monastery, in a community, or living alone. These are the four things we require, requisites, things we need as opposed to want to live. Anything over and above that is just accessories and maybe little luxuries from time to time. But as you probably have seen, I have as few of those as possible to avoid distraction and to be able to concentrate on my own practice here. But I'm also delighted to receive so many comments which are of great encouragement to that practice, to me in that practice, and questions which I can gladly and happily talk about. Whether I can give you the decisive, definitive answer, I don't know, but I can certainly give you my point of view from the benefit of experience living this life as a Buddhist monk. So, continuing with that, this first, I'll just read the section I've highlighted from this long comment, which is very interesting about someone's practice, but they have a question amidst that, which is, I don't work due to medical reasons, so I have lots and lots of time on my hands. Well, that's really, it's unfortunate you cannot work for medical reasons, but I'm very happy that you are seeing the positive side of that, in that you have lots and lots of time on your hands. This is time, as you have identified, that you can use for practice, because your question is, my question is, how would I structure a retreat of either a day or a few days? Well, don't restrict it to a day or a few days, keep it going. Make this your practice, make this your new career. After all, it is my career. I don't go on retreats for a few days. I don't segregate a part of the year for practice. It is continual. Now, appreciably, I'm fortunate, as I was just describing, to be in that position, supported, so that I can do just that. But you, and many of you, occasionally, even if it's just at the weekends, have the opportunity on days off to spend time alone with just practice, just that, which you can structure and call a retreat. Now, I don't use the term retreat for myself, but one could say I am on permanent retreat. If you go on an organised retreat, it will have a structure, a timetable. But by the very nature of its organisation and the fact that it is going to need to support you and other practitioners during your stay, there will be responsibilities, duties, and this communal exercise to support your practice whereby you are all coming together with a unique aim to further your development in the Dharma and the practice of meditation, but primarily there to support each other. When you're on your own, like this, as you are, you can concentrate 100% on your own practice. All you need is a little bit of food each day, which you can plan very easily if you keep it simple. The first step, and this is how one structures your day, I've thought I had this phone on Do Not Disturb. Sorry. There we go. Things were flashing on it, which I don't understand. The first thing to do is turn off your mobile phones, your smartphones, your devices, laptops, computers, anything of that nature, because as you see, they're disruptive. I have mine on permanently on silent with notifications turned off. But the device I'm using here to read your questions and comments, that hasn't been done. So something came up there which I didn't read, but is a distraction. Now these are distractions that can be avoided. So one should endeavour to take time out from social media, from any of these forms of distracting entertainment, which is covered in the precepts, but primarily just switch them off. You understand. I'm surrounded by, I've got so many animals and creatures in this location where I am now that I've come to notice, from these big water monitors, which are a huge kind of a lizard thing, chipmunks. We have now fruit bats, which are about 1 meter in width, 3 feet or so. Huge bats which fly around in the coconut trees in the evening, making this. It's a very nice noise, an entertaining screeching noise, but they play with the monkeys up there. So I'm getting to see now, having stayed here for some time, all of the surrounding nature and wildlife. So that's my distraction. And at the moment, the dog, which is not so far away, it's making some howling noise. I have checked on it, because the other day it was making a kind of a distressed howling noise. I went to check on its welfare, check it was okay, and it wasn't okay. It was literally wetting itself, the poor thing, and I thought, what's wrong with it? It didn't look very happy, so I didn't want to go too close, but I thought I must help it, so I went up to it, and what it was, there was a huge snake right by it. So all I could do is I was chained on a longish chain. It was chained so it couldn't run away. I undid its chain and let the poor dog run away, and went to find its owner to let them know as best I can that I'd let it run away, because I could see no other option. To leave it chained up, it was going to get bitten by the snake. To let it free, well, I don't know what might happen. But they were able to find the dog, and it all ended happily ever after. The snake remained, which is right by my kuti window there. It was just there, running more or less the length of half of this room, the other side of that wall. It remained there for a good while, but eventually disappeared. So, surrounded by things like that, it's a great place to be. But back to you at home, structuring your day's retreat, 3 days retreat. But if you can, make it a continual practice. And if you wish to make it more intense and call it retreat, yes, you can do so. Now, of course, if you're working, this needs to be the case. So the way to do this, we turn off our devices. We then also dress comfortably. Now, all of what you need to do is covered in taking the 8 precepts, really. So we're normally operating within our lay lives on 5 precepts of no killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, or taking of intoxicants. Now, once or twice a month, maybe on the Uposatha days, the lunar observance days, or at weekends on a Sunday, something like that, once, twice, or 4 times a month, you can take 8 precepts, which means you take on an additional 3, the 6th being you don't eat in the afternoon. This frees you up to not having to cook or even think about food and the clearing up of food after its preparation in the afternoon at all. Maybe you could have some breakfast and a lunch, or just one meal. My day is such that I just have one meal. So I wake up very early at about 3 a.m, meditate until 6 a.m. You could choose to do this also. If you prefer to wait and get up at 6 a.m, that's fine. Get up at 6 a.m, meditate for an hour. Now at 6 a.m, I chant here, have a short meditation of 15 minutes, which you can join me with live or watch the recording later. I then go on Pindapata at 6:30, which is walking into the nearby village and then town to collect alms, which is food in my bowl, which I return to with here by about 8:30. So that's then ready for me to sit, prepare myself, ready. Sometimes people will visit, bringing more dana, and other people come to receive the surplus food to distribute to those who need it. And then by about 9 a.m. I sit down to eat for my one meal a day. Now you could do this also. The benefit in that 6th precept of just eating in the morning is that it frees up your time and also most importantly your mind, because you're not thinking about the preparation, the eating of and the cleaning up of food. Often people are eating breakfast thinking about what they're having for lunch, and then when they're eating lunch thinking about what they're having for dinner. Just having one meal a day gets rid of that problem. It also means you are usually hungry, so it doesn't really matter what you have to eat. You're not so fussy. Everything is appreciated. So keep the diet simple for your retreat period or your continued practice. Live on either I lived when I stayed in England for a short while, when I was there on 8 precepts and living as a monk, but stuck there for 6 months at one point. I thought, well, I'm not going to get my sticky rice and curries and things like that I have in Thailand, but you eat the staple food of the country you're in. So maybe if you're in Italy, have pasta. If you're in England, it's potatoes, something like that. Here in Asian countries, it's usually some form of rice. So in England or Europe, vegetables are more abundant perhaps. Have potatoes, it's relatively cheap. Bread, it's relatively cheap, with just some vegetable or whatever you eat, it doesn't matter, but keep it simple and cheap. Keep it cheap also, because then not only are you benefiting from the practice, you're saving money, you're not treating yourself to sensual delights of a culinary nature. You're not trying to appease the taste buds all of the time. You're keeping everything of a sensual nature simple. So this is it's over expanding maybe a little on the 6th precept, but this is the importance of that. This supports your retreat. So you've turned off the smartphone, you've stopped eating afternoon. You're already keeping the 5 precepts, I hope anyway. Then we don't need to be dressed up and wearing makeup or jewellery. That's the 6th precept. Is that the 6th precept or the 7th precept? No, that's the 7th precept. I've just said the 6th. Right. That's the 7th precept. So we also are going to refrain from entertainment. So we won't, of course, be listening to any music. Don't even have on in the background little ching chong chanting recordings. You know, I've seen these Buddham, Saranam, Gacchami, repetitive chanting, things that go on for hours and hours and continue in some places you visit around the world 24 hours a day in the background. Yes, it can be quite pleasant, but it's unnecessary. We're going to be seeing life as it is in the raw. We don't need to cover anything up, even if it's the neighbours being noisy or the next door dog going crazy because it's being threatened by a huge venomous snake, or it's the flying trapeze things that fly above carrying tourists to see the scenery. Whatever the noise may be, just know it as that. This ears hearing sound. and then your reaction to the sound. Is it either liking, disliking, indifferent? Knowing that is being aware, is mindfulness. So we refrain from dressing up, makeup, jewelry and entertainment. Now that's split into two when you take 10 precepts, living in a monastery. And then the 10th is they add on, you don't use money. But for your own home practice and retreats, we're sticking to 8. Well, it's 9 really, because entertainment and beautification and dressing up are two separate when you go further than 8 precepts. With that, wear some very comfortable clothes, pyjamas if you know what I mean by that, or whatever your nighttime wear is. Don't walk around naked. Be covered, be decent, as if you were to be answering the door to a visitor. Be clean, be washed, refreshed, shower as normal. But you don't need to do your hair, put your makeup on. Just be clean and natural in loose-fitting clothing. Then for me, I have my meal just at 9 o'clock, and you can do that also. And then perhaps it's a good time, before you sit to meditate, you could practice walking meditation. Make yourself a little timetable, but your meditation practice should be divided into perhaps, depending on how advanced you are, but typically, and perhaps for a minimum on a retreat, 40 minutes sitting, 20 minutes walking. By that I mean you sit literally without movement for 40 minutes, just watching your meditation object. After which you set a subtle timer, just something that can just let you know the time, if necessary at all. But really, if you're at home and nothing's going on, the longer you can sit for, the better, so don't interrupt that. But then probably naturally you'll want to get up at one point, then practice walking meditation, up and down, just watching stepping right, stepping left, stepping right, stepping left, in this way, to break up the time that you're sitting for. If you're advanced in the practice, then just sit and don't have any timer, don't have anything that's going to disturb you. After all, you've eaten, there's nothing more to do. If you now sit for the next 12 hours, it is okay. But you probably won't be able to do that yet. So you're asking for some structure, and this is how you structure it. So what I would do at this time now is either this, as I'm doing, which is now after my meal time, after I've cleaned up, making sure all your food, eating, preparation and everything is gone. Completely clear, cleaned, put away, nothing left to do later. If there's anything needs tidying, cleaning, or you need to throw the vacuum cleaner around the apartment to make sure everything's nice, do that now. Make this your chores time. This is my chores time. But I've just finished my cleaning up of my meal, and now I sit down to either talk to you as I am, or I might listen to one of my teachers giving a Dharma talk for an hour or so. Because after you've eaten is not a good time to practice sitting meditation. This is a time to practice walking meditation to help with digestion, or to listen to some Dharma. If you find yourself tired, dozing off, get up, practice walking meditation. It's understandable when your body's going through the digestion process to feel lethargic, and actually to want to just lay down and have a rest. That's really not advisable. It's not healthy, and it promotes and increases lethargy, laziness, and lack of enthusiasm for the rest of your practice during the day. So let the food digest by working the body, either by intellectually, by listening, nothing too complex, something soothing in terms of Dharma, a good Dharma talk, or even something here on this channel for this time. Then structure your time such that you have a place set aside in your living environment where you won't be disturbed, so you know you can spend a good few hours sitting meditation and doing that alone. Not too far from where you can, if needs be, stand up and practicing walking up and down, walking meditation. And really, that is it. Now you can go on doing this for the rest of your day. Maybe bathing, washing, cleaning yourself at around 3 or 4 in the afternoon. That's what I do. And then just as it's got through the main heat of the day, as it starts to cool down before the evening, I like to have my bathing time then. They call it bathing here, but have a shower or whatever. We just have a bucket here that you fill with water from a tap and a pail to throw it over yourself. It's not bathing as in, don't get the candles out, the aromatherapy oils, and start lazing around in a bath. That would be contrary to the idea of your retreat and your practice. You see, it isn't about increasing sensual pleasure and therefore fueling sensual desire. It's about working on our minds to let them cool and settle and tame that desire, eventually eradicate that desire, cutting it off at the roots, cutting off the fetters to samsara, the ties to rebirth. But for the time being, just don't overstimulate those sensual pleasures by either taste, touch, smells and aromas, what you're looking at, what you're listening to, avoiding all of this, keeping it very neutral, very bland, very simple. It sounds boring. That is the idea, boring, because this is where we see the real action, the real intrigue, the real interest, because that is going to be all coming up in your mind in the absence of all other distraction. Remembering all of your phones are shut off and devices, no Netflix, nothing like that going on, and no music. All you have here is, in this time of retreat, in this day, is your mind to watch. That's the big screen for you today. Enjoy it. See what comes up. You'll be surprised. A lot comes up, especially when you're new to this. So this is really how you start off, and the timing of it is up to you. If you have all of this time on your hands, good, anumodana, I'm very happy for you, that's wonderful, and make the very most of it that you can, and enjoy your practice, increasing the time you sit for each and every day. If you want to break it up then in the evening, maybe you could have a hot drink. Remember, if you're avoiding food, you shouldn't be having milk and in your tea and things like that. Just drink some black tea, black coffee, a little sugar's okay, even fizzy sodas, cold drinks are okay. Just don't go making yourself food supplements and soups and all of this. After all, you're taking this as a precept, as a lay person. It isn't 100% necessary. So don't, just for the sake of the precept, go out of your way to make all sorts of weird and wonderful concoctions to get round the rules. That defeats the object, doesn't it? If you're really hungry, have a biscuit or a cracker or something like that. You can. I can't do that. I'd be breaking serious rules. But you can. Have just a plain cream cracker will settle the tummy. All we're allowed is chatu madhu, 4 things. Butter, no, that's ghee. Yeah, butter. 1, ghee, which is clarified butter, sugar or honey. Those are the 4 things we're allowed to settle our tummy if we have real problems with starvation and hunger. Well, not starvation. Hunger, the symptoms of hunger. The initial symptoms of hunger are nothing life-threatening. They're just to remind us to eat. So we have maybe a little bit of tummy ache, a little unsettledness, maybe we feel a little bit faint. That's usually low blood sugar levels, so we can have some sugar. But a fizzy drink, a Pepsi Cola or something like a lemonade is good enough for that to settle it, or a cup of tea with some sugar. Have that in the afternoon to break it up a bit. Maybe listen to some chanting, watch some chanting. If you like devotional practices, then you could then light some incense, offer some flowers, and light some candles for your shrine. If you have a shrine in your room, it's useful, like I have behind me here on the wall high up. Somewhere where you can direct your attention when you're not meditating to paying homage to the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha, reminding yourself of our teacher, the Buddha, the Dharma, his teachings, and the Sangha, in which emanates from the Buddha's time. In that lineage, the Sangha of monks and nuns that are here today, having descended from the time of the Buddha, continuing with those teachings of the Dharma. in the name of the Buddha, our teacher. So you just are paying homage, reminding yourself to that by offering those lights by way of candles, flowers and incense if you wish to do so. This can be something you can do or you can choose not to do, it's up to you. So that would be more or less how I would structure that for you. If that helps, I hope so. And it's along the lines of how, in fact, I ordinarily run my day here. I am able then, maybe in the evening, I listen to a Dharma talk or read something, but usually might just listen to a Dharma talk, and then I'm able to meditate again into the night. So try not to go to sleep too early. If you can meditate from, say, 6 in the evening till 9, and then maybe at 9 o'clock you might just want to have a hot drink. Maybe meditate for another few hours if possible, but just as long as you can until you then need to go to sleep. Then you should go to sleep, waking up early again the next day for meditation, and so on. I might add you should plan the food such that you have enough so you don't need to go out during this time to acquire more food. Of course, we're not allowed to store food overnight, but part of our practice is going on Pindapata each day, so it kind of forms part of the retreat or the routine, the practice anyway for us. So on devotional practices, someone here is asking me, please put a flower wreath around the sacred Buddha wooden shrine that is in the wall behind me, I'm sure you're referring to, every Monday with 108 puja Buddhist chants for daily enlightenment, nirvana ascension. Thank you. Namaste. Right, okay. Well, I don't do that normally. This is going on. Lots of devotional practices are going on all around me. You can hear them, I think, in the background of the morning chanting, where lots of flowers, like I was just saying, are being offered. Coconut oil lamps are being lit, and people chanting many different suttas and chants. What you're referring to here is offering flowers to the Rupa behind me. Now, I don't do that because simply I don't have them here. There are plenty outside, but we're not as monks allowed to pick flowers. So if someone brought flowers, then I would offer them, as occasionally I have, to the Buddha Rupa. But if that doesn't happen, then that doesn't get done. It's fine. When I go into the town on Pindapata, one of the lay people there always offers me a huge, beautiful arrangement of flowers, which they've gone and picked every day, which I offer to the big Buddha statue Rupa in the town there. I mean, this is a huge sort of 40-foot Buddha image in the middle of the city, town. And I offer those every day, with candles and incense as halfway through my Pindapata alms round, each and every day. I do that for their benefit. They like to see that being done by a monk, and they offer me the flowers for that purpose, so I do it. Personally, I don't believe that's the way to Nibbana. We don't say nirvana, we say Nibbana. Nibbana is Pali, nirvana is Sanskrit. Sanskrit is the northern tradition, this language of Mahayana and other forms of Buddhism. And Pali is the southern traditions, Theravada, and from the Pali canon, as I spoke of yesterday, so I won't go into that again. But Nibbana is a final attainment, the goal we are trying to attain to, of no future rebirth. Freedom from suffering in this lifetime, firstly, and then no further rebirth into samsara. Now, the Buddha taught us to attain to this, we follow the Noble Eightfold Path. So, establishing right view, having right intentions, acting with right speech, actions, having good livelihood, putting in effort, practicing mindfulness and meditation. This is the Noble Eightfold Path. Nothing about how many times you chant the Tipiso in there. Nothing about how many times or what day of the week you offer flowers. This is the simple path of Sila, Samadhi, Panya, which does incorporate saddha, faith, And faith is an important support to that practice of the Noble Eightfold Path, and can be done as a matter of choice for the individual. Some prefer to direct their faith in devotional practice. Some prefer to direct their faith in actively doing as the Buddha taught and sitting and practicing meditation for a long time, in taking the precepts to a further advanced level than 5 precepts, having kept 5 precepts, adopting 8 precepts a few times a month or 4 times a month or even all of the time. This is the way some people choose to try and attain to Nibbana, and this is in accordance with what the Buddha taught us. So I'm appreciative of what you're suggesting in terms of paying homage to the image behind me, which I do, respectfully, chanting the 9 qualities of the Buddha and reflection on the qualities of the Dharma and the Sangha each and every morning, and chanting all of the representative components of what you recommend here. Even if I'm not actually doing them, I'm bringing them to mind, and they're being done elsewhere, also by myself, after the short time period that I have available for this to be live streamed, which is only 30 minutes and includes 15 of meditation. So all of that you suggest I cannot include in that little time slot. But it is being done elsewhere, and partly by myself, throughout all day and every day, 365 days of the year, not just on Mondays. You should try and get ideas of a particular day that it should be done and a particular number that it should be done, leading you to Nibbana, quite out of your views, because this is not right view, as we're trying to establish. The first point of the Noble Eightfold Path is right view, which is the understanding of the Buddha's teachings, the realization that it's only the practice of Sila, Samadhi, Panya, which is developing from moral virtue and meditation, developing wisdom to see right view, the true nature of existence, that all things are impermanent, unsatisfactory, and out of our control, or not self. This is right view, and that all of our actions of body, speech and mind are going to be the resulting causes and conditions for the next moment that we approach, what happens within this life and all future rebirths. This is what we should be paying attention to, all of our acts of body, speech and mind in the present moment, here and now. Okay, so kind of coming towards a close. So I'm going to end with, I won't read both these 2 comments. I have identified them with a big letter C, for clearly these are from Christians, very devout Christians, and peace be with you, and my respect to your faith and sadha, and your understanding of the teachings of Jesus. But these comments are very long, and they are literally just quotes from the Bible. 2 comments from 2 individuals. Now often I find that from Christians this is the case. I'm not blanketing the whole religion. These are directed towards me, and perhaps forgetting, although one of them begins with, please can you talk about my Christian life before now? Well, I'm now a Buddhist monk, so that should more or less sum it up for you. My Christian life before now was by way of upbringing in the country I was living in, being that it's a Christian country generally speaking, not Buddhist or any other religion, and we are born up in a Christian structure. Our names are labelled Christian names, or they used to be, and I went to a Catholic school with monks. Now I was very interested in monastic life from that point of view, seeing monks, the way they lived very morally virtuous life, but never thought it was possible for me to ever do that. And in a way I was a little disrespectful of them, purely I think as a result of my own defilements, my own shortfalls, shortcomings and impurity, that I thought, no, these people, these guys, they must just be faking it, because nobody can be that nice. But they were nice, they were lovely monks, and I went to a very good Catholic school. But it is very much about devotional practice, and theistic religions are that, theistic. They believe, you have to believe in a God. Now, I could no longer in church put my hand on my heart as you do and swear the Apostles' Creed, whereby you believe in one Almighty God and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. I still am a Christian, because a Christian is just somebody who believes in Christ. You don't have to believe in Christ, because he was just a man. Not just a man, he was a very outstanding teacher, one of the most well-known teachers ever, not one of, the most well-known teachers ever in history, along with the Buddha and Muhammad and a few others, are up there. The names that will not be forgotten, certainly not in our lifetimes, but for many to come. And there's no belief required there. But what people of your faith do not need to do is copy, cut and paste into the comments section huge verses of the Bible. I'm quite familiar with the Bible. I don't know it off by heart, and I'm sure many of you do, but you'll notice that I don't ever speak the Pali language suttas in these talks, partly because I don't know them like that, as some monks who have learned, various big suttas and sections in Pali off by heart. I've never really bothered with that. I've not found it that constructive to my practice or beneficial. Understanding them, I find, is more important. And although I understand that you're directing me back towards Christian life in these comments, and they are meant well, just say that. Ask me the question, why don't you come back to believing in God and Jesus Christ, his Son, and the Holy Spirit? That's all you need to ask. You don't need to quote Matthew, Mark, Luke and John at me. This I already can look at online. It's there. As people listening and watching this channel can research with Sutta Central, all of the suttas to the nth degree, every one of them can be read in many, many languages these days in their own time. The people whom tend to quote these lines from scripture of whatever religion are perhaps just doing that, just that. What is more important is having an understanding of all that and doing what the Buddha taught, or what Jesus taught, or whomever. Loving thy neighbour, reaping what you sow, in the case of words from Jesus. In terms of our teachings, the Buddha is teaching us to be kind to all beings, beginning also with ourselves, looking after ourselves in order that we can enable ourselves to be kind to others. Are you doing this? This is what is important, not quotations copied, cut and pasted from online resources or copies of the Bible you may have. It's not necessary. So that's hopefully dispelled the need for many more of these. Occasionally I'll have this outburst of that nature, because sometimes they'll come along in overwhelming abundance, really. And sometimes I'll read through them to find a question, and it's quite disappointing there's no question. It's just a quote from the Bible, which is there for anybody to read if they choose to do so. And I have done so. I studied it for many years to O-level standard at school. So it was a requirement in my educational time. I think that's I've not answered many questions there today, but hopefully there's something useful there that you can put into practice and share with others if you like. That's giving you the opportunity to share the Dharma also. Not quoting from scriptures, but pass on another friend for us to talk with, comment with, share our ideas with, discuss the Dharma with. Building this community of Kalyanamita, noble friendship, people whom are all of the same mind, like-minded people, all looking to become free from suffering in this lifetime. So to that end, I wish you all the very best on your path towards Nibbana. May your practice be fruitful and most of all enjoyable. If you get the opportunity to have some mini retreats at home, please do so. And I wish you the very best with that. And let me know, and I'll give you as much encouragement as I can with that. Thank you for watching. Until next time, be happy and stay well. Sukhi Hotu.